Okay, welcome to the K6 weekly meeting. We got Janam and Pepe here from K6 and myself from the Keptn side. So I think, Janam, you're going to demo progress so far. So over to you.
Yeah, hi. So yeah, I'll just quickly show how basically we are able to run K6 performance testing using the job executor service of Keptn. So basically, basically I have created two different services of Keptn, and one is for a passing threshold, for which I have kept P95 request duration to be less than equal to be less than 500 milliseconds. So what will happen on triggering the event of whenever this event of remote passing task is triggered, so the job executor service will be subscribed to this event, and it will catch that event and run the run this service. And the same goes for the K6 failing task. So over here I have just limited this P95 duration to 1, so we can mimic the behavior of what will happen when this threshold is failed, and how the user can see the output. So yeah, I will quickly go over to this staging and try to run first the failed one over here. So yeah, basically on for giving the services and the stage sequence, we can trigger the service. Yeah. So if we will take a look at the logs of the job executor service, then over here we can see that this remote failing task has been triggered, and it has been cached by the job executor service, and it is trying to run K6 right now with Keptn. So yeah.
You just drop down that little blue arrow to the right of where it says 435, where you've got the second spinner on the right-hand side.
Okay, yeah, this one.
Yep. What you see is it's started. There we go.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically we have the logs of K6 over here. So basically K6 has run the performance test on this using this JavaScript file which we mentioned, and over here this request duration has been failed, so that's why the whole service has failed, and the response that job executor will give back to the Keptn will be of the failed state. And the same way it goes for the Keptn for the K6 pass service. So if we take a look at that again, so yeah, I will trigger this sequence of K6 pass, and yeah, so over here we have got the task got the event triggered of remote passing task. So job executor will start running the executing the K6 files. Yeah. Yeah, so over here the job executor service has been started.
So while we wait for that, a bit of troubleshooting. If anyone ever sees that spinner but doesn't get a started event, what it basically means is Keptn has distributed the triggered event, but there is no service listening for that event to actually action the event. It's caught me out a few times.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So basically this has been passed because both the thresholds of K6 have been passed. So this P95 is 109 milliseconds. So it's less than 500. So that's why it exited with a zero code. So that's why it's in green state. So basically after the pipeline can move to the next stages. Yeah. Yeah, mainly this for the time.
Great stuff. Really good progress.
Good job. Good job, Jaina.
Yeah.
I have some question, Jaina, from the user perspective. I don't know all about Keptn, but what do I need to do for? I see that you have set up the KSIC script. There is some YARN file or Docker file for running the Docker image. What are all the configuration that I need to do on Keptn for running a KSIC test?
So basically, what the user needs to do is that user can provide a Docker image corresponding to this. So we are using this load impact K6 image, which is probably the official image of official Docker image of K6, right? And after that, user just have to use this command and pass in the arguments and put the files in the designated location that user has given for the service. And yeah, user can basically run the performance testing.
Yes. So, and what do you have on the metadata YARN file? What?
This one, that metadata is just the metadata that the Keptn has created. So whenever we will add a service or create a stage in the project, at that time this metadata will be added by Keptn. Yeah.
Good. So just to confirm, so we say to the user, pick up your KSIC test, drop them in a folder, and just set up this configuration on the config YARN file. Is that correct? Nothing more.
So corresponding to this service, user can give any path structure over here and specify that path in the config of the service, and basically put in the command over here. So if there are multiple JavaScript files, then probably by adding a folder path will also make the K6 run right on all the JavaScript files.
So, and for anyone else watching after this, the only thing to note here is on line 9, you've got files, K6 pass files. That's the path in the upstream Git repo. When what happens, the job executor creates a job, creates the container, and it copies those files into the container, but it puts them under the Keptn folder. So whatever you've got on line 9 needs to be /Keptn/blah.
Yeah, and also this files need to be on the GitHub upstream. Git upstream.
Yes. KSIC path. So a user will have a test, and then does he imagine that one user has several tests?
Yeah.
How would that work here? Because I imagine that I have all the tests in one folder, test 1, test 2, test 3, and I may want to create, a pipeline of sequence. What would be the setup in this case?
Okay, so probably basically K6 has this command, right, where we can provide a folder location, and based on that it will run each and every test file in that folder location, right? Hello, am I audible?
Yes. So sorry, let me try to elaborate again. So I have 3. If I have a folder with several tests, then I need to create a job. That's what I do, right? A job for each test that I want to run.
Yeah. You can do that also. Or so basically, is there a functionality of running K6 inside a folder if I pass just this?
No.
And
no.
Oh, okay, so it will not. Yeah. So for then we will have to create a different commands for this. Yeah. Or Adam, can we add multiple commands in the same service?
Not yet, because what that would mean is it's on the wish list for the job executor service to have multiple containers spun up for the same task. But right now, what you'd have to do, if you could just flip to your shipyard, which is on the main branch. So you basically need to create multiple tasks in your ship, because obviously this is just your test, but in reality, this task, this remote passing task, will be part of a larger sequence of things that we do. We might do a deployment, we do a test, we do a validation, whatever. So yeah, you would just have on line 14 there, you'd add a line 15, and that would be your second task.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so that will be the second task, and after here, I will have to add tasks over here also, right? Events, and okay, I can add multiple events over here, right?
Yes, you can. Yeah, that whole block from like line 3 just gets copied and pasted and changed.
Oh, okay. The whole block will get changed.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. But we'll have to pass each and every files differently over here, right?
Yeah. That might be a nice enhancement for K6, actually, the ability just to pass a folder and have it execute everything.
Yes. That is a very requested feature. Not on the, we are figuring out now, but I cannot promise that this will be done soon at this moment. So right now we let the developers trying to figure out how they could run the CLI multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it may be good that we check how it could be this example. Just maybe, okay, this is an example with one test. This is an example if you want to create 2 tests. Right now, I know that you know the solution, but it's not very clear for me how would be the configuration. So it may be useful if we also provide the instruction. If you want to run 2 K6 tests in a sequence, that would be how you would do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. But at this point, straight. we would be able to do by this only, right? Adding multiple actions.
Yeah. But what we'll do, Janam, is you and I will get together. I mean, it should be fairly quick to get this demo together, and we'll just re-record a separate little video on that one.
Yeah. That we can.
I have a follow-up question. When I was looking at the Keptn UI, so is service the proper name in this regard? Because I see here on the sidebar K6 pass service, K6 fail service. Is this a service or is this a step or a sequence?
That is a service. I have only kept that name. So just to be sure, but I mean, it can be anything. It's just the name of the service, this one and this one.
I know.
But so my question is, do we have to name, like if you want to run a K6 test, that means that this is a service in Keptn domain? Because I imagine that we are using service because it's how we are integrating K6 in. We are using a service function and we are figuring out how to trigger K6 within a service, a Keptn service. But for me as a user, I see this not as a service. I see this as a step on my pipeline. So wonder if maybe sequence is a better name than service from the user perspective.
Yeah, basically this is a service only, right, Adam? And this will be the sequence, right?
No, it's been not really. It's been slightly misused here. I get why you've done it for testing purposes to split it out, but in reality, what you'd have, if you could just flick back to your shipyard file for me, what you've done here is you've got a stage called production, which is fantastic, and then you've got 2 sequences, K6 pass sequence and K6 fail sequence. Obviously, that was for you testing things. You want to be able to do that. in reality, what you'd have is one sequence, let's call it your deploy sequence, and then your task,
performance testing, right?
You'd only have one task that would be called test, for example. Now, the service is actually, it models a microservice in Keptn's world. So you've kind of used a service. You've done it twice because sequences can span services. But so you're right, Pepe. This needs a bit of reorganization. But effectively, what you should do is have a microservice that you want to test. That is your Keptn service, the name of the microservice.
Okay.
And then your sequence would be, I don't know, my deploy sequence. And then my tasks might be deploy, load, test with K, load it up, test it with K6, evaluate, and so on and so forth.
I am used to the sequence term because it looks for me that there is several steps, and a sequence is just one step on, or is a sequence on a pipeline. So sequence made totally sense for me because I got in this picture. When it comes like, okay, it's a K6 series, okay, I could get the point. It's just that I don't know exactly how Keptn works internally. And I was more thinking from the CI perspective. There is a sequence of the steps that need to be executed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I will sync with you, Adam, regarding this, and then we can document this. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So yeah, coming to the next topic. So the next topic was regarding the discussion that me and Adam had of using the of how we will incorporate K6 extensions to Keptn basically. So yeah, I'll again share my screen only for this. So yeah, so over here, what we need is that we need a Docker image, right, for making this executable, and then the user will be adding something like anything over here, right? So what instead of that, what we thought basically this is using the job executor service of Keptn. And what we thought is that if we can write a different service for K6, what it will do, it will basically, what we can do, we can ask the users to keep, so basically each and every K6 extension will have a separate K6 binary of its own, right? So what we thought is that we can ask the user in the config file of K6 itself that, hey, can you provide me the, basically we will already be asking the K6 file structures that, hey, this is the file structure. Over here you can find the K6 JavaScript files, right? So the same way we'll ask for the K6 extensions file structure that in this path there is this. So basically keeping one path for K6, and in the Prometheus folder there will be a K6 binary, or there will be in influx db folder there will be a K6 binary. So basically asking the user for file structure of K6 extension also, which the user wants to use basically, and user will keep that binaries at that place. And after that, for basically the running command, the adding the options of K6 Prometheus URL or remote URL, or it can be anything. It can be InfluxDB organization or anything. We will have a same different, basically in the config file, in the YAML file itself of the user, he will add the values of this options that he want to use corresponding to whichever K6 extension he is using, right? Did that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, let me share. So based on how you have run the command before, you can add any options. Is that correct? So the user could run K6 with any type of option. For example, Prometheus remote URL. This could be done today. We just point to the user, look, if you are using this extension, this is the option that they know, because on the extension they have an instruction. So use the option that you want. So now I see this integration in two ways. So one is we provide a Docker image with maybe the extension that works perfectly with Keptn, maybe with the Prometheus, with, I don't know, with the Dynatrace. I don't know exactly what it's gonna be, but we discussed last time, there will be always, we need to give the flexibility to the user, because right now we have 50 extensions. Sometimes are for testing protocol. So we cannot pack all the extensions for the user or providing, so, and the extension will grow. So it will come always a user who want to use any extension, maybe one even built by themselves. In that regard, we have two options. We could say to the user, look, it's very easy. Just create a Docker image with K6 and with your extension, and chain where you say load impact -K6, use your Docker image. That is a solution. The problem with this solution is like they need to do some preparation. So they need to have a Docker account, push into Docker. Not maybe everyone has that, but it's totally fine. So you want to use like any type of thing, so you need to add this configuration. Probably it will fit to a lot of people. Next option would be to give them instructions for building an extension within the Keptn steps. I showed last time the instruction. So I am asking, have you tried that? I could pause here and share the link again, and we could see like that was installs a Golang image.
So basically this only, right? So using this the XK6 build, there will be a K6 binary, right? So what we thought of the structure is that user is already giving this file structure of K6 executables, I mean K6 scripts, right? So that user will already, so this is a different service other than Java job executor service, which is directly taking a Docker image and running command on top of that. So instead of that, what user will do, user will also give the in the config itself, it will, so one can be of the default. So if user has not mentioned any file structure corresponding to the corresponding to K6, then it will directly fall back to the default K6 binary. Otherwise, if the user gives some file structure of K6 extension that follow this path of Prometheus and get the binary from there, so that user can provide, so that will be extensible to any of the extensions, right? Because user will already be doing this, I mean user will already be creating this binaries, right, using this xk6 build command, right? So that user will provide, and then corresponding options, I mean the flexibility of providing whichever options that he wants, right?
It's not very clear for me, Jainam, how you plan to do this about the K6 extension Prometheus K6 folder. What would be exactly the setup? Do you want them to download the extension repo and to build, or do you want them to build in advance?
Yeah, probably. So yeah, I mean, if the user will download it and put it into the file structure, then that also we can do, or otherwise we can keep a set of list that we are providing, and basically keep a, can we Adam, just a wild thought over here, can we do this kind of structure also, that we have a list of extensions of our own, and some list of extensions, and after that let's say Prometheus and InfluxDB and all that, and in the installation of K6 service itself download all this K6 binaries, and, or would that be an overkill?
Yeah, of course you could. There's nothing to stop you, technically speaking. You could even use Keptn to build Docker images. It's not typically Keptn's forte, let's say. Keptn's typically a CD tool, so it gets involved after the Docker images or the image, let's say, is built. You could. My only concern there is, I'm trying to think of how to say it. Basically maintenance, and we would then have to, or whoever is maintaining this K6 Keptn repo would have to keep in sync with any new extensions on the K6 side. Whereas if we just point to the K6 docs and say, go build your image however you want to build it, because if K6 do something cool and wonderful, you've got to then redevelop that extension. Whereas if we're just being a bit more hands-off, I don't know. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to all of this. It's up to you, really, how you want to solution this.
Yes, Jainam, I don't encourage that we pack the extensions. So it's gonna be so many extensions, so many versions that we need to let the user do however they want. So we will never, as Adam say, that is a maintenance burden on your side that it's not gonna scale. So I'm gonna show you, if you don't mind, let me share the screen, because that is I find that it could be easily. So if we want flexibility, share a screen. If we want flexibility, so we are doing this setup like that. We say the user, look, you could have multiple extensions. So start picking a, I don't know if you could do that, something like that on your YAML file, like pick up a Golang image. Now install a K6 and just build K6 with any extension that you want, because you don't need to have the local extension. So in fact, let me show you. So K6. So you could do something like AK6 this version. So we don't need to force the user to have the local extension. They could build the extension like, I want AK6, build AK6 browser version, whatever. They are gonna pick up from the GitHub repo, version 2, version 3. We could let the user pack 4 different extensions, 5 different extensions. They will be fetched from GitHub directly. So with this, we just avoid them to have to use a local extension that is not very common. It's common to use a local extension when you are developing your extension, but once your extension is ready, then you make it public and you give the user those instructions. Look, do you want to use my extension? AK6 build the name of my extension, nothing more. So we could have the 2 options, like build your own Docker image. This is the instruction for building a Docker image. So we have this on many reports. Do you want to build your Docker? So it's very frequent that they know how to build a Docker image. But it would be nice. The other is like, if we could just put this command into a Keptn task. I like here. See here, Adam, how they are doing with GitHub action. So we are using a Docker Alpine image, and then we are just doing go install AK6, that's installed AK6, and it's building with any version that we have. So we will just say to the user, okay, if you want to run with extension, either build your own Docker or follow this instruction. And then we give entire flexibility, any extension that you want. You could have pack 2 different or 4 different extensions, any version that you want. So there is no any maintenance in our side more than explaining the instruction as you did on the other integration. That looks to me the easier path, but we need to double check that this process works also within Keptn. I don't know exactly.
I don't either. More specifically, we need to check whether the job executor service can build containers inside a container. That's
building. It's not building a container. So it's picking. If you see here, it's picking a Docker container as you already have. It's just a a Golang container. It's picking a pre-default public Golang Docker container, and it is running some commands within the Docker container. Is running some command within the Docker container to build K6, nothing more.
Yeah, I think that should be doable. We'll do what I'll do. I'm recording this obviously, so I'll get the I'll forward this to the job executor maintainers, but it looks possible. Yeah.
It's very common flow because most of the CD tool allow to use Docker as you already allow, and this is just about running to command. What you may not want to do is running your, but it's fine, building your K6 binary for each time that you want to run a test. You may want to do one time before the entire process, but it's gonna be even okay with building the K6 version maybe before each test. So the only process is like you build the K6 version once and you reuse for all your tests, or you build every time before the test. That is gonna depend on the flexibility that Keptn has in that regard.
Yeah.
I will share this link on here and also on the Slack channel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good, that looks promising. Actually, Pepe, I've got a question. How common is it that what I'm thinking is aren't most people going to come and say, well, I've got my, if I need a custom binary, I've got it already built. Would that be a fair comment, or?
No, it's not very common because, okay, they may have, it's not uncommon, but seeing that Golang builds per operating system, they may be using on Mac, and this task will run on Linux. So we always, because of that, we are trying to improve this process. There is a project in which we want to make it easier. It's not very complex today, but you need to build the binary within the operating system that you will run. Docker abstracts this process because Docker by itself, it can build, and it's gonna be just built on the operating system of the Docker image that you are using.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take it to the team and one to take offline, I think. Definitely. Explore.
Just check with the Golang Docker image, use a Golang Docker image, and check out if you could run a command. First, as we did, the first command that we run there is download AK6. And the second is just run a Golang command, an AK6 command, and you are gonna see how it builds K6. And now you have the binary as you have on the other.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it for me. That's it for me so far. Really, the easiest, the easy way to do the configuration. Otherwise, I would not insist on that one. But I am open to any other possibility. So, not saying that it should be like that.
Yeah, makes sense. So, yeah, I mean, this definitely makes sense that if that binary won't be executable at the different at the place where Keptn is going to run, so probably we should deep dive into it. Yeah. So Adam, can you just also loop me in when you are discussing this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll both of you.
So,
I'll post the links into all the relevant Slack channels. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Fabulous. There's nothing else from me. Anything else from yourself, Jonan?
No, nothing much. So basically, first off is this only, that create the documentation after finalizing the way that Pepe mentioned right now of multiple. I mean, keeping it as a service step by step and all that. So yeah, we'll sync with you, Adam, too, regarding that, and that we can do. And apart from that, discussions around this only, right? How we will build the K6 binary for the extension, and this, right? Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so we'll meet again next week. I'm going to stop the recording now.